Note card 6, we're going to discuss reference angles. The reference angle of a given angle is the positive acute angle, 0 to 90 degrees, that is determined by the x-axis and the terminal side of the angle. Now that's kind of a mouthful, so let me kind of break that down to what I'm talking about. We've been dealing with different angles, like you might have an angle 1290 degrees, or you might have an angle negative 720 degrees. Well, in order to be able to find the trigonometric value of that angle, you need to find its reference angle. Now you could type that large angle into your calculator and hit enter and it's going to give you an answer. But with the unit circle that we have and the following trig value chart that we're going to make from that coming very soon, you need to know the reference angle in order to be able to use the unit circle or the trig value chart to be able to find those trig ratios. So again, what the reference angle is, it's going to be an acute angle. So it's always going to be between 0 and 90 degrees. It's always going to be between 0 and 90 degrees, acute, okay? And it's going to be that angle that's formed with the x-axis and the terminal side of the angle. So let's take a look at this first one right here. The x-axis is right here, so it's formed with the x-axis and the terminal side. Well, this angle, it says right here, if the angle is less than 90 degrees, then the reference angle is equal to the angle. So if this angle is 30 degrees, then the reference angle is 30 degrees. Okay? So that's pretty straightforward. If the angle is already acute, then it is its own reference angle. Okay? If we look at this example over here in Quadrant 2, I need to know what the reference angle is. And it says if the angle is between 90 degrees and 180 degrees, then the reference angle is going to be 180 minus the angle. So let's take a look here. So one way of looking at it is this angle right here formed with the positive x-axis and the terminal side is 120 degrees. I need to know its reference angle. Its reference angle is not 120 degrees because its reference angle has to be acute. The reference angle is formed with the x-axis and the terminal side. What I mean by that, if I look at the negative x-axis over here and the terminal side, where I'm highlighting in blue, that is an acute angle. That's the angle I'm looking for. Okay? And so the way I would find this one, if the angle is over here in this, if it's between 90 and 180 degrees, I just subtract the angle from 180 and I get the reference angle is 60 degrees. So the reference angle is the angle formed with the x-axis and the terminal side. So it's this 60-degree angle right here. Or you can just simply, these are some, right here, these little rules, like it just tells you, if the angle is between 90 and 180 degrees, you find the reference angle for this specific angle by subtracting it from 180. And as long as you get an angle that's acute, when you think you find the reference angle, you can check yourself because it must be an acute angle. Okay? Moving on to the last two examples here. Here we find this angle, and this angle they tell us is 225 degrees. Now you have to remember that the reference angle is formed with the x-axis and the terminal side, but we're talking about an acute angle. So if I'm just talking about that before I read this bold and little rule here that I have, I'm talking about the reference angle for this angle is this angle right here. It's formed with the terminal side and the x-axis. Now this is the negative x-axis, but I have to use this side because of the fact that it's the only side that'll make it acute. If I use this side of the x-axis over here, I'm going to have an obtuse angle. Okay? So I'm using this angle. This is the angle I'm looking for. And the way I find it is very simple. If the angle is 225, it tells you right here. if the angle is between 180 and 270, the reference angle is going to be equal to the angle minus 180. So the angle is 225, so 225 minus 180 is 45 degrees. My reference angle, this angle right here, is 45 degrees. And then for my last example, I've got an angle ending in the fourth quadrant. The angle is 325 degrees. If that angle is between 270 and 360, here's your rule. The angle, again, that I'm looking for is this angle between the x-axis and the terminal side. This time I happen to be looking at the positive x-axis because that's going to be the angle, that's going to be the side of the x-axis that creates an angle that's acute. Now what I'm highlighting here, this is showing you geometrically what I'm talking about right here. This is just the simple rule you plug in a number to. What I'm trying to show you when I'm highlighting in these blue angles is what I'm talking about geometrically. Okay? But it's very easy to find the reference angle if you can tell, okay, my angle is 325. Okay, well, that angle is between 270 and 360, so I follow this rule. I take 360 degrees and I subtract the angle. So that's going to be 360 minus 325, which gives me 35 degrees. This is my reference angle, 35 degrees. And that's hopefully very easy, but that's how you find reference angles.